Welcome to Sober on Purpose, the show where emotional sobriety and the messy reality of loving someone with addiction meet. We're here to help you discover peace, purpose, and healing through Jesus, no matter how chaotic life feels. Hey, Sober on Purpose family. I am here with somebody that you all have been asking for is, how do I help my children? How do I help my kid? When I am living in a household that has been totally disrupted, siblings are sideways because I've got somebody who is really hurting, really hurting and headed down the wrong path, heavy with addiction. So I have asked Austin Davis to be here with us. He is with Clearfork Academy. He has all kinds of letters after his name, but this man is a visionary about how to help your young man or your young lady work through those issues that have brought them to the point of disruption in the family, dysfunction in their own life. So, Austin, kind of give us an overview of who you are, what you do, and why you feel called to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, pleasure being here, and thank you for having me. I think first off, I'm a husband and dad to three kiddos, 8, 10, and 12. My oldest is a boy and two girls. So when I'm not doing everything else, that's what I'm focused on. So yeah, I really thought I was going to work in the local church 30 years ago. I mean, that's kind of what I had envisioned myself working with teenagers in local church, and did my undergrad in pastoral ministries, and then ended up going to seminary and working with youth in local church when the house gets burnt down, or somebody gets pregnant, or gets kicked out of school. We're not exegeting things out of Romans. We're asking questions, and I'm sitting and we called it soul care or whatever. And so went back and got my master's in counseling, just because I saw that as a gifting since an early age, and but B, it was just the right time to transition and do that. So worked in psych hospitals for 4 or 5 years, did case management, got all the hours and clinical acumen and things like that, and then started working with adults in residential substance use treatment. It's kind of where I had my epiphany again. I'm working with 30, 40, 50-year olds. And when we say, hey, Johnny, when did that happen? And he was like, oh, when I was 14. And then Mike over here says, yeah, that happened to me too when I was 12. And then Jerry over there is like, oh, mine was at 16. And all of a sudden I've got a room full of 40-year-olds talking about their adolescent selves and how that got them to this seat today. And so it was just kind of like an aha moment. Let's combine my clinical work with my youth pastor calling, smash it together. And our hope is that we uh, eradicate all of these adult situations, if we can get our kids moving in the right direction at 12, 13, 14, 15.
I know there are so many mamas out there going, "Where is he? Can we clone him? What, how can you help us?" I love that epiphany because I work with adult women that's their ages are a little younger, and you work with girls too. Ages seem to be a little bit younger when things have happened for them in my practice. As you were drawing that together and beginning to look at the roots of the issue, what was God saying to you about
Mm.
setting up the work that you're doing now?
You know, uh, I think since the beginning of time, we all try to ask this question: is who am I?
Mhm.
And whether that's a dad or a son or a daughter, we ask that question over and over and over and over to ourselves. And when the world begins to tell us that answer, I think that's when our life goes awry. And so we try to just create some foundational ideas and concepts of self that are both Christian and clinical, um, to help our kids really figure out who they are.
So you're working with these men who are sitting there in pain, who've been sitting in pain for decades, and this epiphany comes to you. How are you seeing that play out with the young men that you're working with right now? The ones who are the age where this is happening?
Yeah, so we're just seeing it in real time. And the kids that we have in treatment don't really understand the long-term effects of their behaviors today. They don't have that insight. And frankly, I don't think parents do. I think they know the crisis and the concern, but they don't see the long-term effects or the ripple effects from looking at pornography at 10, or a divorce, or moving from the East Coast to the West Coast, or having, like all the gender stuff, like whatever it could be. I don't think anybody's seeing the long-term effects from that, or aware of it. They're in the crisis, they're in the moment, so they don't see the long-term stuff.
And how are you helping the families? Because that's mainly who I talk to, are the women in the families
Yeah.
who are caring for the children, for the husband, for the aunts, uncles, whoever this is happening. How are you helping them? They're not just dropping the kid off and getting off scot-free.
No, no. And so we joke early on. And so our boys' campus is like a retreat, and parents are like, "Can I stay and leave my kid at home?" And we joke and say, "I bet our results would be the same." I'm a family therapist by training, and so we have a whole family systems department. We've got a director. Each location has a dedicated family department. And so they'll get individual therapy, group therapy, but then they'll have a family therapist that does sessions with them weekly, right alongside of everybody. Because our thought is if our kid grows exponentially and the parent stays here, well, the kid's going to go right back to that poor environment of communication where dad says, "Hey, you're dumb." And now that shame cycle starts, and then the abuse cycle starts, or the cutting starts, and we're right back where we were 90 days ago in treatment. So um, we'll do the family systems work, and then we'll do 3 2-day family intensives while they're in treatment. And so we'll do a whole lot of psychoeducation in the first group. And so that's really learning the words and the just the nomenclature about what addiction looks like, or what shame looks like, or why is cutting actually helpful to a kid? Like, why do they actually do it? We know
Mhm.
there's a release there. And so really trying to understand just the mechanisms of action on the first part of it. And then our second group, we really want connection. We want the head and the heart to connect, because not only is it Jackie or Johnny's problem, oh, it might be me. And so
Mm.
now I understand, when I say this, I'm a part of that cycle. So going back to that idea, the only thing we can control is ourselves, helping our parents understand how they are in the cycle of addiction or mental health with their kiddo, with their family. And that could be 3 generations up. So when we do a genogram, we're seeing great grandpa, and we're seeing grandpa, and we're seeing dad, and they're like, oh,
Mhm.
they don't they don't just share the last name, but there's a lot of similarities and personalities, and the good stuff and the bad stuff.
How do you overcome the parent resistance that says, no, it's them. I want to drop him off, her off, and have you fix them? Does every parent show up, or do they go, I'm paying you money, you handle it, man?
We do have those folks, and so it's that phrase is leading a horse to water, right? That's all we kind of continue to do, is engage them in the process, and um, just kind of hope and pray throughout the intervention side of things. Somebody goes, and has that
Mhm.
moment. Some of them, I've looked at dads just like square in the face and be like, dude, you're a jerk. Um,
Mm.
and you're a jerk to everybody around you.
Mhm.
And it
Mhm.
helps that I'm 6'4", 200 something pounds.
I
Um,
figured you were
you
pretty good size.
you know, uh, because most dads just don't want to hear that. But, and I was like, pay attention when you talk to your son. What does his behavior do? Usually I don't have to get that stern or that in their face, but because usually the programming will reveal that. And we'll do some behavioral analysis or assessment, or and hopefully there's enough humility in the room for them to go, maybe I can improve somewhere here.
And I assume when you're talking to the dads, you're talking with that room of 40-year-olds who probably were damaged about the same age, and they're like, "My dad did this and I'm a functioning adult."
Absolutely. Yep. So it's just that generational trauma that's just passed on. And so and generally what we'll see is dad did it by climbing the corporate ladder.
Mhm.
And it's probably two scotches or something in the afternoon, how he winds down. And so kiddo sees that compulsive behavior of working and then using substances to cope. Kid just doesn't have a job, and the substances are heroin or fentanyl or Molly so there's a whole lot more risk um, with that, but the compulsory behavior is probably the same.
When give us some examples of when the parent has the aha moment. What do you see when they aha and say, "Oh, I could make some changes"?
Yeah. I again, it's um, I think it's just crying. I think you'll just see that the tears well up, and it's
Yeah.
usually not words. It's an affect change. Tears well up, and you just hear the sigh, or the just damn it, like it's
Mhm.
my fault, or I'm a part of the process. um and that's that catharsis that we look for, and we really want to work alongside of parents. And please don't hear me say it's parents, it's your fault, because our kids have this free agency, they have free choice or whatever, like they make their own decisions. And um you know so it's not just the parents' fault. We're not here to beat up on parents, but we're here to help parents understand their role in the recovery process.
And how do you begin to bring them hope? How do you begin to say, "Look, now that you've got an awareness, guess what we can do now?"
Yeah, that I think that comes in the power of the group, because that mom who just had the aha moment, she's been in the program 3 weeks. Well, her neighbor has been in the program 8 weeks and goes, "Oh, I remember that." I was the one crying. Here's the tissues. Um, and I think there's hope and there's power in the group setting. Nobody got to where they are on their own. So
Mhm.
I have 100 mentors behind me that I'm standing on their shoulders. So I think that's where hope begins. We have our alumni programs, we have our other families. Well,
How how are you
excuse me.
Austin, how are you bringing God into this process?
Um, Great question. So we have our core values. We have 7 values. Each one of them's kind of tied to scripture, not kind of, they're tied to scripture. So we hire, train, develop folks based on our values. And they rotate. So we do a theme every week. So honor is honor God, self, and others. Then we use narrative therapy as the intervention. And then we have communications as skill. So we kind of have that 3-tiered idea or concept each week. And so honor, unity, sacrifice, transparency, legacy, excellence, and fun drive the programming. And so it really begins with our people, and then our people build relationships with our kids. And ultimately, some kid goes, "What is this God thing?" Um, you know, we do chapel, and we do spiritual 12-step groups. So God is kind of intertwined in all of our programming and our curriculum, but it's presented in a relationship way.
Mm.
We're focused on knowing the kid first and understanding what they need and want in their life. Then we'll introduce them to probably the most intimate thing that's a part of my life, right? And
Mhm.
that's my faith. Um, so I want to know their interest. I want to be a clinician first, and I just have this assumption is when we get you to stop hating mom, hating dad, and hating yourself, you're going to be so ready to see God and what He has designed for you.
There's a huge key right there. I mean, as a parent,
to get them to stop hating me, stop hating what's going on in the house, make things safe. How do you help that parent go home and continue that emotional safety at home so the kiddo can be who they're really designed to be?
Yeah, the parents have to do their work, right? They have to first understand that surrender is a part of the process. The child is surrendering a lot of things, and they too have to surrender. They have to surrender their kid back to God, sort of in that Abrahamic on the mountain kind of moment of, yeah, I'm not in control. And that's really, really hard for parents who are afraid or, um, in that, steeped in that, to where the consequences are death. So,
Yes.
um, really getting parents to understand that is the first step. And then second is, man, just having a good home plan, just having what is the norm. You know,
Hmm.
you're not going to spend 6 hours on the Xbox when you come home. You're not going to go to so and so's house who we know has a liquor cabinet and Xanax everywhere. So
Hmm.
it's really simple things, um, to just put together a home plan that's relationally founded. We don't like home plans that are like, oh, we got you. Um, and so these are success plans. These are how you grow. I teach parents. I was like, look, have you ever been put on a performance improvement plan or hired in at a job and they said, hey, you can be at this level and make this money and this amount of time, but these are the things you got to do to get there, and you're excited to go to work every day because you want to get there. Think about this plan as that way, and your kid's going to be excited to do that.
What, so many generational curses you're breaking just by implementing
Yeah,
that plan. Because how many of us came from our families of origin, married, and then went, okay, let's set up a family plan. Let's figure out what we just, unfortunately, we don't think that way. I mean, the Bible gives us the plan. When
right.
you give them that plan and you frame it in that way, is that another light bulb that goes ding? Oh, this makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I just met with. We do a Tuesday Zoom call with our families, and that's all we talked about was like discharge planning and what does it look like when they come home. And we for 2 hours, that's all we talked about was just ideas and generating things, and like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Or we have a lot of families who don't want expectations, they don't want boundaries, and I'm like, why? Like, what
Mm,
are you afraid of? And it always comes out, well, I'll be rejected, or I don't want him to fail, or, well, when you go to work every day, your boss probably asks you to show up and do a certain thing, right? So it's kind of the same concept. Let's just take all of those ideas and use your family, or use that template within your family.
you've said one of my favorite words, which is boundaries, which people don't often understand. How do you begin to work when you really have that tough, boundaryless family who really doesn't understand and is trying to boundary people into responsibility? How do you begin to work with them?
We don't know. um, um, I think it's a skill, right? I'm not a good golfer, but I like to play. But I played baseball my entire life, so I'm having to unlearn all the bad habits. And I
Mm,
think it's just boundaries is a learned skill. There's obviously fear and cognitive distortions or something underneath that are compulsory to those boundaryless people. Um, but I like an psychoeducational approach first, because it's a softer, unless somebody's really healthy, got a good EQ, we can do the therapy kind of work, and then the skills or boundaries will follow. And it's kind of both and, but skills generally when, because the patient is our kid, our family. Hey, mom, can you just say it this way?
mm.
um, I understand your intent here, but your presentation is terrible. um, so giving them a worksheet when we do family sessions, and you do conflict resolution on the worksheet, and I say this and you say that. um, kind of in a Gottman style of conflict resolution and family systems. So I think a skill-based thing is where we begin with helping families just undo that just bad knee-jerk reactions.
Well, you're getting them with the gift of desperation, right? They're
Yeah.
coming to you at a desperate point, going, "How do you help us?" Have you ever seen? So I've been part of Awanas for a long time, which is a children's ministry in the church. And the children show up and they want to go read Bible studies to their parents. And then suddenly the
Uh,
parents start showing up in church. Have you
yeah.
seen the kid reintegrate and say, and start teaching the parents what they've learned?
We have, a sort of agnostic families. Kid comes in and um, finds and knows Christ. We baptized 200 kids in the past couple of years.
Oh my goodness.
Um, so yeah, we see either an introduction of faith or just a reinvigoration. Like, oh, we used to go to church when he was 5. He's
Mm-hmm.
15. We haven't been a part of a church in a long time. And we're like, yeah, that's part of the home plan now. Is like, you guys, while he's in treatment, you guys start looking
Mm-hmm.
and have this a part of the reentry, and let's, because you get them thinking about what life was like back then, and they go, huh, maybe that was reason why things were kind of working.
Mm-hmm.
um, so yeah, and personally, that was my story. I didn't grow up in a faith-centered home at all, and a friend took me. And then, my mom started going, my aunt and uncle started going, my grandparents. So kind of in a way, is my brother and I's fault that everybody attended church for their first time.
I don't know if I want to say fault. It's their grace
Yes.
that you went into
Yes.
church and did that. So kudos to all those youth ministers who are working so hard, especially
Amen.
like Young Life, who are going to the unreached. Now, so I'm the mama sitting at home going, I know I really need this. What are my first steps? How do I begin to even talk to you about what I
Yeah, I
think I
think,
need?
www.clearforkacademy.com is a wealth of information. We've put just hours and hours and hours of writing blogs and helping kind of fill in the blanks. Am I ready for residential treatment, or I need outpatient treatment? Is my is marijuana really a drug, right?
Yeah.
Um, you know, um, so yeah, our website, clearforkacademy.com, and our phone numbers in the top right hand side. We have folks that are 24/7 who will
Oh,
do
great.
free assessments. If you think you're ready for any level of intervention, it
Mhm.
could be one of our family programs are standalone, so those are open to the community, and they can come in and do one of those intensives, and then we have outpatient all the way up to medical detox.
So what if, and this is what happened to me, what if the family member or family members are ready, but the child who needs to be in treatment, they're not ready to push? Can they come to the family program, get their self organized before they do the push with the kiddo?
we would love that. We would love for to the family system to get better. And just like our own immune system, right? When the immune system's really strong, all those bad things don't really exist anymore. They kind of get pushed out. Um, and I use this analogies with families sometimes who are struggling, like, I don't know if he's ready yet. Well, uh, my kids love to climb trees. And if one of them were to fall out of the tree and snap their arm in half and blood goes everywhere, um, I'm not going to ask my kid, hey, do you want to go to the hospital?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw in the back of my brand new car with brand new leather seats, let them bleed all over the car, and I'm going to drive them to the nearest, fastest ER, breaking all the laws. And then I'm just going to hand them my credit card, right? Like, because it's my kid and the intervention has to be done before something else happens. And so I think if we thought about mental health or addiction that way, we would be a little bit more responsive to it.
So if I'm hearing you, families can come, find more information, get some awareness, understand what's going on. They can pick up the phone. You got 24/7 people to call and kind of sort these things out, because we do hear some bad stories about treatment centers and not highly responsible. I asked you at the beginning, tell us a little bit about your accreditation, who you are, who you're responsible to, all of those things.
Yep. We've got, joint commission and state accreditations and state license. And every year we do a full week-long audit of all of our stuff for all those governing bodies. And so we have red tape to the hilt, all through and through. So I've got a full-time person sits on my executive team. That's all she does is compliance and licensure and outcomes. And so
I'm sure you would be willing to have parents come and tour before they made a decision to come and talk with you first. You don't always have to be at the bleeding stage before you show up and do this.
100%. We want to take this journey together, and yeah, absolutely.
So for the families that are going to watch this and they're trying to decide, is this bad enough? Is this something I really need to intervene on? If I'm hearing you correctly, you've got some assessments on the website that they can do privately and figure out what they think then, or did I mishear that?
Not assessments per se, but a lot of our blog articles and things that we've written are just how to know when, signs of this, signs of that, how to talk to your teenager, how to do an intervention, kind of those catchphrase, articles and things that we hope parents can use to, move to the next step.
And does your organization do interventions too, or is it really people enroll with you?
Yeah, so we use third-party folks to help with some of those interventions.
Okay. And do you have to be in Texas, in the great state of?
Absolutely not. We've got kiddos from all over the nation. Probably about 20-25% of our kids at any given time are from outside the state.
Awesome. And it sounds like you have programs that don't require residential. So do you have outpatient as well?
We have 2 outpatient locations, and our PHP is 5 days a week, 5 hours a day. And then our IOP is 3 days a week, 3 hours a day.
That is all on location. Do you have Zoom opportunities or anything like that?
Great question. I always forget about that, but yes, we do. So I think we have like 16 kids right now in a group. So they'll do that 10 hours a week virtually.
Okay. Because you can't, some of us can't just pack up and come to Texas as much as we'd like to do that. Leave us with a scenario with a family you've helped that gives folks an anchor in hope that you've seen change.
Oh, man. Well, on this call we just had, one of the moms, her son was so we're in Texas, and it's Texas OU weekend. I'm a Texas fan. And so this mom was bragging on her kid who graduated from our program, went to OU, and now is like an aerospace engineer.
Woohoo!
And, she just couldn't be more proud. She's been on that call for like 3 years. Just pops in and out. So yeah, just those are the calls and the families that make us get up and go again every single day.
That's awesome. Austin, thank you for being here. I know I kind of caught you off guard, but this is such valuable information. Can you tell folks again your .com, how to get a hold of you and what they'll find there?
Yeah, clearforkacademy.com. We'll be there. The phone number's in the top right-hand corner. Give us a call. We'll do interventions and or phone stuff to help anybody. So thank you so much. It's been a fun time.
It's been a pleasure.
You, beloved listener, are creative, resourceful, and whole. Do you want to add more purpose to your sober journey? Do you want to make room for the new and make your dreams a reality? Apply today for a dream session. Go to tanyajoya.com That's TANYAGIOIA.com and apply today. Let's get you dreaming about your new purpose.